Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Computer America Show. Got a great program planned for you in the second hour. SCSC, that stands for Small Software and Computer Systems Company, is going to be joining us. We have the company's president and CEO talking about utility software for your Mac. And in the first hour,
1 minute until showtime.
Uniden is here talking about their wireless DVR system. Security system supports up to 4 cameras. It's a really terrific system, and I think you'll find it extremely interesting. Mark Lesser is here, the manager of new product development for Uniden America, is joining us. And if we have time, we'll do computer and technology news brought to you by Slimware Utilities, the official optimization software of Computer America. So sit back and relax. Enjoy 2 hours of Computer America coming straight at you. Fifteen seconds.
Your show will go live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting live. It's America's longest-running national radio talk show on computers, Computer America. Hosted by national columnist Craig Crossman. Look for Craig's weekly column in your favorite newspaper. This show is being beamed nationwide at ComputerAmerica.com. Keep it here for technology news, computer products, guest interviews, and your phone calls. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello, and welcome into the Computer America Show. It's the nation's longest-running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers. Computer America is heard around the world and coast to coast. And I'm your host, Craig Crossman.
And I'm your co-host, Ben.
And it is, I guess it is. Let's do it. It's Friday! Yes, another long week has come to its conclusion, and we are so glad that you're spending your Friday night with us here on Computer America, assuming, of course, that you are listening to us live, because we are a live broadcast Monday through Friday. However, I know so many of you decide to listen to us via time shifting. Okay, so in the meantime, I've just been told that Ben's having some technical difficulties and he can't hear anything. So I'm hoping that he'll be able to figure that out and get it worked out. But everything is up and running as far as I can see. So I guess the problem is on his end, and but we will continue to do that. In the meantime, it is Friday. I don't know if there's any good movies out that are coming up yet. I think they're see the Mission Impossible's been out. I'm not sure. I'll have to check the. Usually Ben lets me know who's coming out. But anyhow, if you have a comment or question, let me just tell you how we do everything around here at Computer America. If you have a question for me or for Ben or for our guests, we'd love to have you give us a phone call. And then pick up the phone, give us a call. It's 347-884-8881. That's 347-884-8881. We'll get you on and get you through. There's also, if you want to ask a question, but you're radio shy, you don't want to go on the phone, you don't want to speak to us, you may not like the way you sound. I don't know. There's a million reasons, but anyway, we give you another option, and that is at every page at ComputerAmerica.com, the upper right portion of every screen, it says "Submit a question." So what you like to do, what we like you to do or try, is to just click that, and it'll come up to a special question submission page. You can just put your name in there, and you can put your question or comment in there, and click the submit button. And both Ben and I will see what it is that you're doing, and we'll ask the question on the air. It's just that simple. Now, another thing we want you to do, we'd like for you to participate in our live video. That's right. Yes, we're a radio talk show, but guess what? We also have live streaming video that you can watch. and that's very, very cool, because then you can see myself, you can see Ben, sometimes you can see the guests. Certainly, Ben has the technology to display websites in the background. He can do videos. I mean, he can do all of that. So it just makes for more interactive session. The way you do that is just when you go onto computeramerica.com, in the little menu bar that says home, and then the thing next to it, to the right of home, says show lounge. Just click that. And when you do that, immediately the live streaming video of the program will be activated, and then you can see everything. Now, later on, that live video gets archived. So if you're time shifting the show, you certainly can watch it, because we have our own live YouTube channel. So you can watch this at your own leisure. You can listen to it at your own leisure. We have links to everywhere. We have our archives page. We have all the different places, things that we do at Computer America is available to you there. So we suggest that you do that, and it just makes for more interactive experience. There you go. So anyhow, that's all the different ways you can contact us and view us. Now, another couple of really good things because it's Friday. That's right, you guessed it. We're going to have our social media winner of the week. Yes. We're going to be giving away that Logitech Anywhere MX2 wireless mouse valued at $80. Some lucky person is going to be winning that tonight, and we'll probably call that out in the second hour, the winner. We usually typically do that. So that's there. And let's see, what else? We have the social media winner. And again, if you want to enter it, it's too late for tonight, but of course you can do it. We run it every single week, and once you enter it, the more places, more of the social media that we that we are involved with here at Computer America, you can every time you enter, you get that many more entries per week, and you just do it one time, okay? And then it just lasts forever. It's just real simple. All the rules are there on our social media contest page, again at computeramerica.com. Now, there are two other things that we want to tell you about, but I'll probably do that later on when Ben gets here, because he's having a little technical difficulties. We'll try to get him on. But there are two things that you can do. We are now heard on two new sources. We are now heard on SoundCloud. That's right. Yes, SoundCloud now carries the Computer America show, and also Stitcher. That's right. Stitcher now carries the Computer America show too, and we are going to put the links to it, to those pages, so you can hear all the different archives and all the things that we do at Computer America. We're going to put those up over the weekend, and we'll have those ready for you to display. But we keep doing more and more, and displaying more and more of these things to you. So I think that's it. I see Ben is in there again, but I don't know if he can hear me or if we can hear him. Oh, there you are. Ben, you made it. Congratulations.
There we go. Yep. It took a second. Sorry about that.
Better late than never. What was it?
No idea.
No idea. But usually rebooting solves most problems. But anyway, glad that you're here. And I was just getting ready to introduce a guest. So I mentioned it's Friday. I went through all the different things that we do. Anything you want to mention before we get started with our first hour guest?
No. I think it's gonna be a good Friday show. We should jump right into it. We have two very interesting guests. So, Craig, good job stalling for time, and yeah, let's get to it.
Okay. Well, while I do that, you can fix the banner, and we'll get started. So, in this first hour, we're going to be talking about, this company used to make phones, but they don't make phones anymore. They made some great phones, but they got out of the phone business. Not sure why, but they now make some very interesting products. One of them is their wireless digital video recorder. So it's actually the Uniden WDVR4-2 HDD. It's an integrated digital wireless DVR system. Supports up to 4 cameras. It has HDMI out to a monitor or TV. Full-time live viewing of all cameras is possible, or remotely using the free Uniden WDVR iOS or Android app. This is a really cool device. And joining us to tell us more about it is Mark Lesser. Mark is Uniden's manager of new product development. Mark, welcome into Computer America. How are you?
Oh, very good. Thank you, Craig.
Thank you for being here. And say hello to Ben.
Sorry, a little busy. Nice to meet you.
There you go. So tell us a little bit about, I mean, I thought Uniden made phones, and they did, but you told me just before the break here, before we went on the air, that Uniden no longer makes phones. Why did they just decide to get out of the phone business?
Well, primarily is the home phone business, the cordless telephone or corded telephone business. The whole market has been shrinking because more and more young people, they just don't have that type of landline in their house anymore, or their apartment. They just use their cell phones, and so cell phones have pretty much taken over.
Okay, you know, and I understand that. I mean, more and more people say, "Hey, what's your landline number?" And I get this deer in the headlights look. You know, I haven't had a landline.
You even say that's like, what is your landline number? And they say, and they're like, listen, folks, I have a Google Plus number, I have a Skype number, I have a cell phone number, I have a, any other voice over IP number. A landline is the last thing I have. So I guess, kudos to being so mobile over at Uniden and for seeing the writing on the wall.
Yeah, because I think telephones, the traditional corded switched landline phone services are eventually, I think, are going to go bye-bye. It's going to be a while. Obviously, it's not going to happen overnight, but it's already being. We're seeing so many of the technologies and things that we used to use 5-10 years ago, Mark, and they're just kind of fading away. I mean, we see it with computers. Obviously the floppy disk is gone, but now we're seeing optical media is basically going away. It's a streaming. Music services are replacing, things like iTunes. So people just want to stream it. They don't want to collect the music. They don't want to own the music anymore. They just want to listen to it. They're watching videos, Netflix. I mean, all these different things we're seeing happening. And so this makes perfect sense. So anyway, we're going to be talking about this new Uniden WDVR surveillance system. Why did Uniden decide to go into this end of the business?
It was probably about 6 years ago that we started. We just saw there was an opportunity there because up until a couple of years ago, if you wanted a security system, it was a wired system. So you had a camera, you had to run a wire back to a DVR system where your hard drive is to record video.
Yeah.
And a lot of time it's a challenge to run the wire through your house.
Right.
In a wall, up in the attic, and all of that kind of stuff. So we started in the wireless camera business and have been pretty successful.
Really, and now there are a lot of wireless. There are a lot of number of these wireless DVR systems out there, and so and we're going to talk a little bit about. But what are the obvious benefits of a wireless DVR?
Well, really, the biggest one is kind of what I just mentioned with without having to string a wire across your home or across the floor.
Yeah.
Essentially, we can transmit the video and audio from the camera to the DVR directly without having to use any wires. The only wire that's required is, of course, the camera itself has to have power. So you have to have a power source where the camera is. That's
the last remaining wire, I think, of the 21st century is the power cord. We're seeing so many of these wireless devices are completely wireless, and of course we have batteries, but batteries aren't a solution for, especially for something like this, where it's on all the time, or you want it to be on all the time, because you're gonna go through a lot of batteries. So power, I think, and eventually I thought I will get wireless power too. I would think in the long run.
And whenever that happens, whoever invents that's going to be very rich.
You think so? I mean, we're seeing it now. We're seeing induction technologies. We're getting to the point where we're seeing wireless induction power. But the problem with induction is that you only get like maybe a few inches away from the source. As you pull the device further away, the power drops down enormously fast. So, okay.
That and solar.
Oh, solar power too. Yeah, but you can't have. I don't know. You can't have wireless cameras relying on light power. At least I think solar has to come a little bit more a little more has to happen with solar, I think, before that really takes off at this point. But anyway, getting back to the benefit of a wireless DVR, why don't you explain to our listeners the concept behind the wireless DVR system? What is its purpose?
Basically, for all of our systems support up to 4 cameras. So the primary focus up until now has been primarily consumers for their home. And it's just much more convenient to have a wireless camera somewhere and then a monitor or your DVR in another location to wirelessly send video, to the DVR to the monitor. And then 3 years ago is when we introduced our first system that you could actually remotely access from your phone, from your Android phone or from your iPhone.
Uh-huh.
And that was the very first for a wireless system, and it was really that made our whole security products very, very successful. Is the remote access part of it.
So who is using this wireless? Is this somebody that people in their homes are using it? Is it more for businesses? I mean, who's your target market with this particular wireless DVR, Mark?
With the wireless DVR, our focus is small business, small to medium business.
Uh-huh.
If you have a little storefront in like a strip center or something like that, or just a small business that you don't need 8 cameras or 16 cameras, this is very, very convenient. You can have it there. If you have a reception desk, you can have live video there that's looking at the front door, looking at the back door, looking at your stock room or whatever.
Yeah.
That everything's there, live video.
Okay. So, and you're saying, is it small business or are using this, or is it designed for?
Well, no, he said that small businesses were finding it, very, very helpful. But I guess this is where the DVR comes in. There are other options on the market, of course, that let you stream to an IP address and use the data or use the wireless signal. And I'm sure that that's an option, through the app and all that kind of thing. But what is the biggest perk of having the DVR? I mean, of course, having that video recorded, but is that really important at this point if you can just access it whenever you want?
Oh yeah, you can access it whenever you want, but the fact that with this system that we have a 1 terabyte hard drive is that you can have it set to just record 24 hours a day on all 4 cameras, and if something were to happen, if the business got broken into or anything like that, you have all of your videos right there on your hard drive.
Now, typically, we say terabytes. Typically, wireless DVR systems had a smaller hard drive. Although the cost of hard disk drives are coming down enormously. I mean, the cost for storage used to be a cost per gigabyte, but per megabyte. Now it's cost per gigabyte. Now it's getting to the cost per terabyte. We're seeing, 1 to 4 to 8 terabyte drives. We just talked about a 16 terabyte solid state drive that's coming. That's just been announced. I mean, so obviously these things are being developed. Intel next year is developing a whole new type of hard drive. That's going to be a solid state drive. It's going to be 1,000 times faster than flash memory today. I mean, it's amazing stuff they're coming out with. But so having all this information on the DVR, you can with a terabyte, how long? I assume when it reaches the end of storage, it starts looping. Is that what happens? I mean, how do you have it set up?
Yeah, I mean, by default, it's set up to when the hard drive actually gets full, then you can set it to start overwriting the oldest files.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll just be on a continuous loop, and with a 1 terabyte hard drive, that'll be months of video before it would actually start overwriting. All
right, so here's to put this in perspective. 24 hours of video with your wireless DVR takes about how much space? 24 hours, a 24-hour period.
Oh shoot, I don't know if I've ever done that particular kind of calculation.
Okay. Well, because
One thing that might help people out is what's the quality of the footage shot, because that really determines the the size of the video files. So, what's the frames per seconds and resolution?
yeah, and is it black and white or color? I guess that all also affects it too.
Yeah, this is the cameras are color cameras, and the resolution is VGA quality.
Mhm.
So it's not high definition, but VGA, and it will record up to I believe it's 25 frames per second.
Okay.
On all 4 cameras.
So 25 frames per second doesn't really give you, or doesn't give you full motion video. You're getting like that kind of like that.
It's pretty good.
Are you
Yeah, 20.
are you getting full fluid motion?
Yeah, 25 frames is still pretty fluid.
Okay. All right.
Just like in films, if you look at a film, and that's typically done at 24 frames per second.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that's right. 24 frames per second is, I think, is the point where the human eye can't detect, the motion between each frame. So you're getting smooth video. You're getting it in color. It's VGA, and you're saying that typically with a terabyte of storage in the wireless DVR, you can let it run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for months. Before that gets filled up, and then when you do, it can start deleting older files. Or if you want to, do you have the option of offloading the files or something, or putting another hard drive in? I mean, what are your options for that, Mark?
Well, we have a couple options. Also, on the back of the DVR, there is a micro SD card slot, so you can insert a micro SD card and then go into the file management and then just transfer. If there's particular video clips that you would like to save,
mm-hmm.
you can take those and transfer them onto the micro SD card, and then you can take that and load it onto your computer hard drive.
But I think if you can get months, I mean, if you can get 3 or 4 months on it, for the most part, that's you're pretty operational. I mean, there's nothing where they're going to go back and say, oh, hey, something really bad happened 5 months ago. And now the police were coming to you for the video. I mean, I don't think that really. I think in the real world, 3 or 4 months before it starts looping, I think it's probably more than sufficient. Would you not agree?
Oh yeah, and it definitely is. But the other alternative is that the DVR can actually handle up to 2 terabyte hard drive. So, if a customer feels that 1 terabyte is just not enough, they can purchase a 2 terabyte hard drive and install it.
Ah, okay, all right. So they have that option. All right. So, and again, we're finding these things in convenience stores. We're finding them in retail outlets, mom and pop retail outlets. I mean, who are your customers for this?
Kind of like what you just mentioned, and as well as just your typical homeowner that would like a system like this that has larger recording capacity. Because up until now, all of our wireless systems could record only to an SD card. So you would have most of our systems would support up to a 32 gig micro SD or a SD card, and we have a couple that'll support 64, but that was your maximum.
Okay.
And so some people may not feel that that's just quite enough. Is not enough, even though it will do the same thing and loop over the old video. We think that there's still some homeowners that would like a system like this because of the hard drive capacity.
Right, and they want the longer duration. What kind of range do the cameras have to send the video signal? What kind of ranges are we looking at here?
Well, if you can have direct line of sight, it can be up to around 500 feet.
Okay.
So if you had it, like in if you had it set away, outside, these are outdoor cameras. If you had it outside, and if you had a pretty clear line of sight from the camera to where the DVR is, then you could possibly get up to 500 feet. But obviously, when you're in a home and the video and the camera is outside, then it has to go through the wall, the brick wall, then let's go through your interior walls to get to wherever the WDVR is. And so that 500 feet will shrink down. But typically, 100 feet is still a good number as far as transmission.
Of course, if you have a home that has like a really long driveway, and you want to have a camera out by the front gate or something, then, and you have like a half a mile or something in your driveway, then this is not the answer for you. Then you're probably gonna have to get something that's wired, I would think.
Yeah, but that'd be a really long wire.
Yeah, and with a really long driveway too, I would think so. Okay, so basically you have that. Now, what about night vision? Can these cameras have night vision?
Yes, they do. It has infrared LEDs around on the front of the camera that surround the actual lens. Mm-hmm. And so it has a sensor on there that will, when it gets dark enough, the LEDs will come on, and then it also has an infrared cut filter switch in it, and that'll move out of the way, so it'll allow all of the infrared light to come into the lens. And so at night vision, when it gets dark, you have a range of around 40 feet, which, for a typical home, that's, more than adequate to have a 40 feet night vision.
Right.
But at nighttime, the video is actually in black and white.
I was just going to say, but when you cut over to night vision, most night vision cameras I have seen are black and white. There are some color night vision cameras, and I've seen some ads for them, but they're very expensive. And
yes,
and I don't know how important. Well, maybe you have someone coming into your house who say, well, what's the color hair? They're looking for a description. Well, maybe color might make for the most part, you just if you lose color at night, it's not critical.
Yeah, a lot of the examples we're throwing out here seem to be revolving around security, and we kind of mentioned these are wireless surveillance, and security isn't the only thing you can surveil. Whatever. If you wanted to use this for something else, baby monitor, or put it on just something else, what else would you recommend other than security? I don't want people to think, oh, I only need this if I have a dire situation and I need to record something.
Well, I mean, essentially, today's baby monitors are basically use the exact same technology that this wireless DVR system uses. So, I mean, if you wanted to do that, you could actually take one of these cameras and have it in your baby's room or your toddler's room, or if you have an upstairs game room where the kids are playing, then you can always have a camera up there looking. But one of the, kind of a key thing is that you can have a camera at your front door. So when your kids come home in the afternoon from school, then you can actually set the system up for motion detection. And then when the kids come home, you will get a notification saying that, there was motion in front of this camera. And, you can go back and look at that video. You can see that, oh, that's my kids coming home.
So what I'm getting from you here is that if you're not home, can you view the video on a remote smartphone?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So, for the WDVR app that's available on iTunes and Google Play, you can download that to your phone, and it'll connect with your WDVR, and wherever you are in the world, you can call up this app and look at your cameras, all of your cameras live 24 hours a day, no matter where you are, as long as you have either a Wi-Fi connection or a 3G or 4G connection on your phone.
So that's very nice. So you can now, do you see one camera at a time? Do you get a split screen or a quad screen? I mean, what kind of display does the app give you?
If you have 4 cameras, it'll come up in a quad view. You can see all 4 cameras at the same time. Then you can just tap on one of the videos, and then it'll cut that particular camera will come up full screen.
Very nice. Now, is this strictly an app, or can you do this on a remote computer too? Can you access this?
We actually typically we've never done PC software or computer software for our systems, but we actually did develop a Mac app. So we have an app that's available on the Mac store that you can download, and it give you the same access to your cameras live, look at your recorded video, and go in and control and do changes to the setup if you wish to do that.
Now, I'm hearing a lot of Apple stuff, so it sounds like, has Apple actually picked this up, this product?
Yeah, actually they have. This particular model, the WDVR 4-2 HDD, is actually available on the Apple Store.
Ah.
It's not in the local retail store, but on their website on the Apple Store.
Very cool. Very cool. Listen, Mark, we're at the bottom of the hour, and we're going to take a little break, and then we'll come back with you, and we'll continue this on. Okay?
Okay, sounds good.
All right, stand by. This is the Computer America Show. Ben and I are talking to Mark Lesser. He is Uniden's Manager of New Product Development. We're talking about the WDVR 4-2 HDD solid digital wireless DVR system. We got a news test bulletin review from Marty Winston. It's all coming up. Stay tuned.
Sometimes disaster strikes. Data can be lost due to many different reasons. Accidental reformatting, power spikes, virus attacks. Zero Assumption Recovery provides a suite of highly effective and thorough data recovery software for Windows operating systems. ZA is suitable for home users and small businesses who need a powerful data recovery solution for Windows and Linux file systems.
Go to z-a-recovery.com.
Sometimes disaster strikes. Data can be lost due to many different reasons. Accidental reformatting, power spikes, virus attacks. Zero Assumption Recovery provides a suite of highly effective and thorough data recovery software for Windows operating systems. ZA is suitable for home users and small businesses who need a powerful data recovery solution for Windows and Linux file systems.
Go to z-a-recovery.com.
Hi, this is Craig Crossman, host of the Computer America Show. I want to tell you something about VTech. They always have the coolest telephone systems around. VTech's new 4-line small business phone system, the perfect solution for small business owners that need to install a phone system that has qualities and features that have previously only been available for companies with bigger budgets. First of all, this new system is the most affordable and easy to install 4-line phone system on the market. Its components allow the system to grow alongside a business, up to 10 extensions that can be located anywhere. The 4-line small business phone system also comes equipped with a number of advanced features such as auto attendant for each line, a digital answering machine with mailboxes for every extension, full duplex speakerphones, music on hold, power failure operation, 6-way conferencing, and much, much more. The VTech 4-line small business phone system is available in stores and online at Office Depot, Office Max, and Staples, as well as online at www.vtechphones.com. Tell them I sent you.
Has anybody seen my draft card? What? Oh, I'm on. It's Marty Winston with a News Tips Bullet Review for Computer America. This time, the Works SD semi-automatic driver. The challenge of having the right driver bit with you for that one screw or piece of hardware you need to address only rarely sees a one-piece solution, let alone one as compact as the pistol grip model WX254L Works SD semi-automatic driver. To follow the gun metaphor, it's a little more like a revolver. It uses a 6-chamber cylinder that holds a different bit in each chamber. It comes both loaded with 6 standard screwdriver bits in one cylinder and comes with a second cylinder holding things like hex bits, star bits, and a screw starter drill. You can change bits or cylinders by racking back a top slide for access. There's a front white LED work light to let you see your work target. A wall wart charges its 4-volt lithium internal battery, as confirmed by a red LED on the bottom of the handle. Bottom line, The model WX254L Works SD semi-automatic driver is a spin and win solution to never going far to find the bit you need to fit what you're doing now. Marty Winston with a News Tips Bullet Review for Computer America.
Welcome back to the Computer America Show. We have Mark Lesser here with us from Uniden, and we're talking about all these great cameras. And they are night vision, they are motion sensing. There are models for outdoor use, up to 4 cameras, and they it fits a very obvious need out there.
Yeah.
But I have noticed that one. I think we were just talking about the. Let's see. Was it the UDR 744 HD? I think we were just talking about
WVR 4. Yep.
That one. Yeah, and you have so many different models here on the Uniden website. What and no offense, but UDR 744 and G755, kind of hard to discern the two. Why do you have so many different models? Is it what's the purpose of each model, I guess, is what I'm asking.
Generally, it's just getting better technology and coming out with newer models. Like the G755 that you mentioned, that was our first one. That's the first wireless DVR system that actually had gave you remote access to your live video. Before that, on a wireless system, that capability just did not exist. So you could actually take that, and the G755, the monitor would plug into a cradle, which is attached to your router through an Ethernet cable, and it's just set up, and then you have your app, and you can just view your live video from anywhere in the world. And so the G755 was the one that really started it all for us, and then the one that you mentioned, the UDR 744 HD, that's probably our newest model that actually can do 720p video, so it can actually do HD video.
All right. So I guess that so you just kind of have to go bullet point by bullet point, and they all have something a little bit different, but every one of them is going to get you the same thing. It's these wireless cameras and access and some kind of tablet or even a DVR system to control the whole system with. So that stays the same. It's just little tweaks between all the models.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just as technology gets better, we'll start integrating the newer technology and just come out with newer and newer systems. Now,
what about setup? I mean, how complicated is it to set up a WDVR?
That's a good question. Pretty much all of our systems that we've developed, we tried to make it as easy as possible for our customers. Really, it's literally taking the stuff out of the box. The cameras, it's just plugging them in with the AC adapter. Mm-hmm. In this case, with the WDVR, it's plugging it in with power, and then plugging it. It comes with an Ethernet cable, so you plug that in there into the back of the DVR, and then into your router, and then it also comes with an HDMI cable. So that would plug in to a monitor or a TV, and there's also a USB port for a mouse. And so all of that is there, and as soon as you turn it on and the cameras are on, you will see live video on that TV. It's just straightforward, automatic, and other than that, you really don't have to do anything.
All right. So, Ben, can you get on to AIM, please? What about motion detection? You mentioned that earlier. How does the system detect motion? What are you using?
With these cameras, we actually have two methods of motion detection. On the front of the camera, there's a little PIR sensor. It's a little digital PIR sensor, and basically what it does is it detects heat. So if it's somebody walking by, it just detects the infrared heat from from someone walking by or a dog walking by, and once it detects that, then it'll trigger the motion detection and actually start the recording of the video.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So that's a piece of hardware that does that. But then we also have software motion detection. So there's algorithms built into it that will look at the video and see how many pixels are changing. And if there's enough pixels that are changing, it classifies that as movement, and then again it'll trigger the motion detection and start recording.
All right, so in other words, the idea behind the WDVR is to not let it run 24/7 and only use motion detection to activate it. I mean, if you got a terabyte of hard drive, what would you want to do that?
I mean, some people would just, for their own personal reasons, they might just want to have it record 24/7.
Right.
But I think in most cases, people really, they only want to see stuff that's actually happening. And so in most cases, it'll just set up, and the default setting is just for motion detection. So out of the box, whenever there's motion, it'll start recording. But if the customer wants to change that, then they can go into the settings and make that change.
And how flexible are those changes? Let's say it detects motion. Can you control for how long it's going to stay in record mode, or is there a set preset time for how long it stays on? Oh, how do you do that?
Yeah, there's a default setting of 2 minutes, but you can go in there and change that to a longer period. I believe it's 5 minutes, or 5 or up to 10 minutes. So you can do that by default. But even after the 2 minutes, if there's still continued motion in front of the camera, it'll just start another recording.
Okay. I mean, can you do it so let's say it detects motion and then from that point on just stays on? I mean, I'm just trying to understand the different options that you offer people with this unit. I mean, because let's face it, if you can think of a scenario, chances are there's somebody out there who's going to want to use that scenario. Somebody say, I don't mind what's going on, but
I don't know, Craig, you're pretty good at stumping guests. I've heard you stump quite a few. It's like I've never heard that one before.
Well, yeah, no, I'm saying, if it detects motion, I want that thing recording, until I get home or something, or I call the police or something. You're saying up
Do you have something for like the really, really worry warts out there?
Yeah, up to 10 minutes is what you're saying.
Yes,
Mark?
so it'll, that's just the settings, and that's the way the motion detection is just set up. We don't have it set up so that if it detects motion, that it would just continue to record.
Okay, but that's a function of software, right? If they get enough people requesting that, I would assume that you can make changes like that.
I would imagine that's possible. I have to talk with our software developers to make sure.
But I mean, at the same time, I just want to say that at the same time, it detects motion, 10 minutes of video, and then the very next frame, if it detects motion yet again, another 10 minutes. Like if it's continuous motion that you're worried about, then hey, well, it's gonna catch that.
Well, does it do it that way, or does it just say once it detects it, and within 10 minutes, if it's still detecting motion, it's not going to stop, right? It will just keep going until 10 minutes of inactivity. I mean, how do you have it set up?
Well, basically what it does is that after the 2 minutes or 5 minutes or whatever it is, it'll close out that file. Mm-hmm. So it'll close out that video file. And then if it still senses motion, then it'll just start a new video file.
Mm-hmm. Are we talking moments here? Are we talking how much time? I mean, what we might lose some information between the file starting, or is it instantaneous?
It's not instantaneous, but I think it's it's a short period of time. It's just the processor just doing what it takes to close out an H.264 file and then starting up a new one. So it may be a second or two.
Okay, all right. So
if we were on a set for Ocean's, what are they up to now? 21, then that would be our window to get the money out of the vault.
Exactly. So tell us, Mark, what comes in the box when you buy this unit? What do you get?
In the box, you get the 2 outdoor cameras with stands and mounting hardware for the stands. Then you get the WDVR, which has the terabyte hard drive is already installed. And then you will also get an Ethernet cable, 6-foot Ethernet cable for connecting it to the router. You will get a 6-foot HDMI cable to connect it to a monitor or a TV. And let's see what else is in there. Oh, and of course the power adapters for the 2 cameras and for the DVR.
And an instruction manual, I would hope, even though Ben never reads them, but I guess.
yeah. There is a quick start guide in there, but when you turn it on and, kind of pretty much like I described earlier, when you turn it on, you have live video. Probably the only thing that you would want to change immediately is make sure that the time settings are correct, so that when there is recorded video, that the timestamp on that video file is the correct time.
Okay. So how much? What are we talking cost wise here for these different? I know you have different models. What are we talking?
Yeah, the one that's on the Apple Store is with a terabyte hard drive is $499.99. So that's the one on the Apple Store. Mm-hmm. We actually have another model that does not have a hard drive installed, and it doesn't support an internal hard drive, but it does have an extra USB port on the back that it supports an external hard drive. So if you have a portable USB hard drive, you plug that into the back of that particular WDVR, and it'll just record video to the external hard drive versus it inside one.
Uh-huh. All right. And again, these are available where if you want to purchase them, where do you go?
Right now, it's the one with the external hard drive is available on our website on Uniden.com. That you can go there and purchase it, but the hard drive version is currently only available on the Apple Store.
Really? They have like an exclusive for that, is what you're saying?
Yes, for a time, they'll have an exclusive. Yeah, we worked with them, and they helped us out on some of the development of it, and they have a lot of really, really good input for us, and this is the result.
All right. Well, Mark, anything else you want to tell our listeners before we say goodnight and about this product or Uniden? Anything else?
No, not really.
Okay.
I appreciate the opportunity to come onto your show and talk about it.
And we appreciate you being here. And again, you can go to computeramerica.com. We have a link to the actual webpage on the Uniden website, so you can see more about the hard disk drives if you're not watching Ben.
It's nice to have you guys on because even I take my dogs for walks and I see quite a few houses with these cameras actually from Uniden set up, and they have like the little red lights for night vision, all that kind of stuff. And it's nice to have you guys on because you guys have been around for a while, and I think in some respects for these kinds of cameras, Uniden is kind of the standard. So it's always nice to have you guys back on every once in a while and see what you guys are doing, because it's good to keep up with the top guys.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right. Well, Mark, listen, I want to thank you again for being on the program here, and thank you for telling our listeners about the wireless DVR systems from Uniden, and thanks for being here. We really appreciate it.
Great. I appreciate it too. Thank you very much.
All right, Mark. Take care. Have a good evening. Good night.
All right.
Have a good one.
Bye-bye. All right. There you go. Okay. Uniden, again, used to make phones. Now they're making these wireless DVR devices, security devices. Very interesting. And check them out. Again, you can see it all at computeramerica.com. We have all the different information and there for your edification. Okay, so that said, I think we have some time to do a couple of news stories. Of course, we're going to be doing our social media winner of the week coming up in the second hour, but now I think it's time to do some computer news. All right?
All right.
Tonight's computer and technology news is brought to you by Slimware Utilities, the official optimization software of Computer America. You can visit them at slimwareutilities.com to clean, speed up, and optimize your Windows system. slimwareutilities.com. Check them out, download them. You're going to be happy that you did. slimwareutilities.com. And in the first news, why don't you do the first story tonight?
Why don't I do the first story? All right. How about we do this? This one, it seems like a pretty standard story, but I think at the same time, it's very, very interesting because most spell checkers, and they are a lifesaver. I'll tell you, I never really had a huge problem with typing, but at some point after using a computer for so long, I've learned to rely on it. And I don't feel bad about that because I personally believe technology is going to stay and it's going to be around here for a long time. And if it isn't, then some kind of catastrophic doomsday vampire invasion has happened, at which point people don't care about horrible spelling, and I can kind of rely on spell check.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing that spell check has never been good at is your system is set to a certain language, be it English, French, German, Spanish, whatever you may be. And those, and when your system is set to that, anything outside that set dictionary of words is highlighted in spell check as an incorrect spelling. And they try to tell you, no, you did not mean mean bien, you meant bean. I'm like, no, I meant good, Spanish for good. And it does look very quickly. And for all the OCD wannabes out there, it bothers you. So Google and Chrome, or as Google through their Chrome, has a solution for anyone out there who may like to slip in a word from another language, or someone out there who has to type in a different language a lot, and and that can present its own problems. So they announced that, or at least let's see, the developer Francois Beaufort, revealed that you can now spell check in multiple languages at the same time in the same document.
Wow.
Now, it's they said that it's a feature in Android called SwiftKey, or at least uses the SwiftKey keyboard, and it has it for ages, but it'll save a lot of trouble when writing in comments, blogging systems, and other Google documents. So it's available in Chromium, as well as Windows, Chrome OS, and or Linux, anyone who runs Chrome. And unfortunately, not on Mac, though. Not on Mac.
Okay.
Chrome on Mac uses the OS 10, OS X, OS 10 language settings.
Okay.
So that doesn't work. All the other Chrome things kind of run in their own environment, so they can do it. But that's pretty much the entire article. But I thought that was really interesting because I am guilty of trying to appear flashy or more intelligent than IR is by using words from different languages, and it tries to autocorrect it instantaneously or just tells me I'm flat out wrong for something I know I'm not. Here we go. It you won't have that problem.
Well, that's good to know. If you're bilingual, that certainly will make a difference. Otherwise, if it just deal with the dreaded.
I think it allows for a much more natural typing if you happen to be bilingual, because I've spoken to bilingual people before, and even when they're speaking English and let's say they speak Spanish natively, they'll speak English and then they'll slip in Spanish words, but you still know what they mean, context and all that kind of thing, or it's a very obvious word, and it works like that. That's just how their brain works. So I would imagine that if they write in their natural speaking voice, then this is a problem that's been just bugging people for the longest time. Not anymore.
Yeah, I have a good friend who speaks 5 languages fluently, and I think you know who I'm talking about. And I asked him one time. I said, "Well, when you think, what language are you thinking in?" Well, and he looked at me, and he said, "Oh," he says, "Yeah, English." I said, "So you evidently he had a first language. Then he, I guess the brain works that you have a primary language, no matter how there's one language that's your base language, and then all the other languages are added on. Even no matter how proficient you are between those languages. I said, it's the same thing when you dream. Do you dream, what language do you dream in? And he says in English. So that's it. So, but this product is only for people who speak two languages, right? Only with two languages at a time.
No. You can, well, here in the article they show the example between English and French, but I think they mean multiple languages.
Okay.
So I'm sure if you go into the settings and you set multiple languages, because most people won't even know about this, and it'll probably just stay by default only English, and everything else will be, red squiggled out. And, that's fine. But for everyone out there who speaks, 2, 3 different languages, and you go into your settings in Chrome OS, Chromium, Windows, Linux, whatever you use, and you set to multiple default languages, or at least a default and, multiple other languages that you are, kind of green light, then you can, use those.
Okay. All right. Now, before we get to this next story here, I just want to take a time out. We announced this last night, and I just want to let you know how things are going along. We are with one of our networks, Blog Talk Radio. We are now broadcasting in what they call hi-fi, high fidelity, high definition audio. And I listened to the broadcast, and it really sounds terrific. It makes a quantum leap in audio, and so we're obviously going to continue to do it. And just so if we're sounding better for some reason, now you know why. It just delivers a higher quality audio, and for live streaming and also for the archives, the audio will just sound better. It's at a higher bit rate and just sounds better, and our guest as well too will sound a lot more clear. So, again, just thought I would mention that to you. Something new. And also I know you weren't on the air with me when I announced it, but I understand now that we are heard live on Stitcher.
Not live.
No, we are heard, but our archives are now available on Stitcher. And
you can hear us on Stitcher. And before you go on with that, I just want to emphasize Stitcher, because Stitcher is such a great platform. You should definitely go check it out. Lots of different shows and lots of different content you can discover using Stitcher. Of course, Computer America's on there. But one of the best perks of being on Stitcher now is that, soon I'm sure we're going to put a Stitcher player on our website so you can hear it all there, as well as Blog Talk Radio and all that good stuff. But one of the best things is Stitcher has one of the best mobile apps for Google, for Android, and for Apple alike. So if you've ever wanted to listen to us or even subscribe, because Stitcher does let you subscribe to shows, through Stitcher, it's honestly, now that we're on it, it's one of the easiest ways to get Computer America is through Stitcher and their app.
And then the other thing that we're on now is the SoundCloud. Now carries us too, right? Well, tell us about SoundCloud.
Yes, I do.
What are we doing with SoundCloud?
SoundCloud is essentially the same thing. It's for anyone out there who happens to be already involved in the SoundCloud ecosystem. We're going to be updating that every night. Unfortunately, they cannot carry us live, but right after the show, we're going to throw our recorded shows up on SoundCloud and have those up within the hour, if not within the first 2 hours after the show has been aired. And Spotify lets you follow, keep track. It's mainly used for artists. Like you put out tracks and songs and entire albums, but it's also a great resource for what we're doing here, and just another place that we could put our show for anyone to access it. And like other places, it's a great place to subscribe to RSS feeds, and it's easy to pull stuff off of SoundCloud. Also, you can download our show off of SoundCloud. So if you want to download any of our shows, you can do it at SoundCloud.
Now, I understand we're going to update our website too. Under the archives page, we're going to add links that takes directly to the SoundCloud page for Computer America, and all for Stitcher, also for Stitcher too.
A couple of these are going to have they're going to have different ways to get to them, and I believe at least these two, we're probably going to create little logos, next to Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, blah blah blah. There'll also be a SoundCloud and a Stitcher. icon as well.
On the archives page. So we'll have
on all pages.
On all pages. Okay, good. Well, we also have the archive page. So if you go there, I'm hoping that we'll have those websites available at the archive, because the archive page is supposedly all the places that you can listen to Computer America. Okay, exciting stuff. Coming up in the next hour, we're going to talk about a number of stories, including Apple is going to replace your iPhone 6 Plus's wonky camera. That's right. If your camera's been giving you trouble, Apple has now admitted it's giving trouble, and we're going to do that. And also, we have our second hour guest too. Let's not forget them. They are the Software and Computer Systems, or SCSC, are going to be on the show. Bill Wagner, who is the president of the company, is going to be joining us for that hour. And he talked. Their company does Mac stuff, and they have a new program for the Mac, for your solid state drive, for your hard drives. They got a product called Scanners and Spot Off. Really interesting, and it should be an interesting hour. And as I said, if we have more time, we'll continue doing computer technology news brought to you by Slimmer Utilities. All right, we're going to take a quick short break, just a few moments, and then we're back with hour 2 of the Computer America Show. Don't go anywhere. Really, we're coming right back. Promise.
Broadcasting live, it's the only national radio talk show on computers to air every weeknight. Computer America, hosted by national columnist Craig Crossman. The first hour's behind us, but there's still more of tech news, tech talk, and your phone calls. We're being beamed nationwide at ComputerAmerica.com. You got computer problems? Bring them on. You're listening to Computer America. Computers run the world, and we run computers. Call us or send us an email to live@computeramerica.com.
Hello and welcome into hour 2 of the nation's longest running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers. This is the Computer America Show, and I'm your host, Craig Crossman.
And I'm your co-host, Ben.
And we just again had Uniden on in the first hour. Really interesting company talking about their wireless DVR system, and also got a couple of news stories in as well. We're just kind of trying to mix it up. And again, we were talking about all the new places that you can listen to Computer America. We're now on Stitcher. We're now on SoundCloud. Just additional ways that you can listen to Computer America. We just want to make it more available to more people. And this was just done this week. And the other piece of news is that we're now coming to you in high fidelity, in hi-fi. Our audio has now been improved enormously, too. So we have that. And, of course, you can also watch our live streaming video.
Yes, and to make it perfectly clear again, that's high fidelity, as in up high on a mountain, not in, because in with the second word makes it much, much worse. We are high fidelity.
High fidelity. That's right. That's what they're calling it. All right. So I think that's it. Anything else you want to mention before we bring on our next hour guest, Ben?
No. I think we're good to go. Although I think this next guest is, of course, going to fall into your purview. You being our Mac user in the crowd, and of course, this is going to be very Mac focused. But hey, Mac, and for all you say about it, and as much tech support is out there for it, and all you want to bash it, people still have problems on their Macs, and hey, they need help too. They are people.
And yeah, and it's true. And then we're going to talk about it. Well, the name of the company is joining us. It's the Software and Computer Systems, or SCSC, develops their own products for use on Mac OS X and iOS operating systems. The current product line up for the Mac OS X consists of Scanners, that's spelled with a Z, SCANNERZ, Performance Probe 2, Phoenix, FSE, FSE Lite, and Spot Off 2 with Spotometer 2. I love that, the Spotometer. It's a throwback to the late 50s, when the old Spotometer. Anyway, Spotometer 2. Now, Scanners is a solid-state drive, hard disk drive, and scanning system and testing tool. Performance Probe 2 is an abbreviated form of Apple's activity monitor that allows a user to easily and quickly monitor system performance and loading without needing the full screen that Activity Monitor typically requires. Here to tell us more about it is William Wagner. He is the president of SCSC. Bill, welcome into Computer America. How are you?
I'm doing okay. How about you?
We're just doing fine here. So tell us a little bit about the SCSC. How long have you been around, and why did you feel the need to develop products like this for the Mac? Because, you figure, when it comes to utility stuff, Apple seems to supply so many things that, that all the stuff that you really need, but maybe not. So tell us about, a little bit about the company.
We started in 2005, and how's the audio there? Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, we hear you fine. Yeah,
You're good.
Yeah, okay. I seem to be getting some feedback. I'm not sure why. Okay, I guess I can live with it. We started in 2005 basically doing consulting and Java development. Probably did that up through about 2010, and during that time frame, I used to be sort of a Linux guy, and I decided I needed a laptop back in about 2002, and I was shopping for some laptops. They were all running about the same, and I came across this little thing called an iBook. And the iBook, I'd heard that it was actually a Unix operating system, but I kind of figured it was like a stripped out, Spartan Unix core type operating system. And when I started using it, I found out that no, this is really a real Unix operating system, and so I bought it. And I started using that for Java development. I was still basically, using it as like a work laptop that I could take into the office with me and stuff. And eventually, at home I was still using a Linux system. And one day I just was sitting here looking at the Linux screen. I was looking at the Mac screen. I was looking at the Linux screen, and I just said, why am I looking at this Linux screen? I'm not trying to put Linux guys down or anything, but it just looked that much better, and I just totally switched.
It's a good thing you weren't here last night, because we had Marcel Gagne here, who was our Linux expert. You would have heard a thing or two from him.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I know. He'd probably be punching me out by now, but no, I mean, I like Linux and I like BSD too, but I just really like the Aqua interface, and I could run X Windows on it too. So I could do anything I wanted to with an Apple.
Uh-huh.
So that said, we were doing some Java development, and we had to get a whole bunch of different types of Mac systems, ranging from some back then it was iBooks, PowerBooks, and some Power Macs and that kind of stuff. And because we needed to test various types of performance, so of course we couldn't afford to get these things new, because it would cost a fortune for the types of stuff we needed. So I started buying some old stuff, and as you might guess, some of it wasn't quite working right. And I started using some of the traditional tools on it, and they may come back and say, well, this thing's working great, there's nothing wrong with it, and eventually it would break anyway. And that's when I started getting into the testing side of stuff, and that's how scanners basically got started.
Okay, so
but that's a little bit different than I think a lot of people's experience with Macs, is that they purchase they purchase a Mac because they want that all-inclusive, I know what I'm buying experience. And you kind of went in after the fact, where people have already had their all-inclusive experience, purchase their older stuff and say, all right, we can get this working again. But I didn't think that Macs or the Apple really let you do what you're doing.
Yeah, what do you mean?
Apple wasn't really designed, from my experience, like you call their tech support, you purchase their 3-year warranty plan. If anything goes wrong, you call them, and then after that, if you open up their case or anything, you void everything, and may God have mercy on your soul. Good luck with your Mac.
I I guess some people have that attitude, but you know, there's an awful lot of people out there that take these things apart and work on them. It's, you know, there's an entire, I don't know if you've been to the website named ifixit.com, but you know, they can tell you how to fix almost anything there step by step. For most systems, I mean, even the laptops, it isn't that hard.
Okay.
So, you know, I mean, to me, you know, my degree is in electronics engineering. So for me to be tearing stuff apart, it really isn't that big a deal. But, you know, it isn't a big deal for a lot of people. So, no, I mean, if people want to buy a used Mac and it's not working right, there's nothing to stop them from fixing it.
No, that's very true. But what about a new Mac? You know, I mean, now you have a warranty. You probably don't want to mess around with it if it's new because Apple's going to fix it.
Well, if you have a warranty on, if you have a warranty on something, I mean, regardless of whether it's a Mac or not, nobody, you know, I mean, I don't think anybody in the right mind would, you know, open something up and start working on it.
Exactly.
But that assumes you have Apple Care too.
Mm-hmm.
The standard warranty, if you don't get Apple Care, is, I think, you know, what, 90 days to a year, depending on what it is.
Yeah, it's 1 year, and then Apple warranty, it gives you an additional 3 years. I know because I have it on my Mac. I have it on my Mac. So, and it was just my luck when my Mac broke. It was like 1 month after the 3-year warranty ended. You know, so go figure. But you know, I got to see a Mac technician in action. I mean, it was amazing. Basically, he just hooked up the Mac to an Ethernet cable, and then did what he ran some software. And I mean, the Apple was able to diagnose exactly what was wrong with it, right down to the cable or to the thing that was inside of it. And then told the technician exactly what he needed to do to fix it. And this is just, he just plugged it in and said, okay, what's wrong with this? And that's all he had to do. I mean, it was, for me, it was very impressive to see one of the Apple. I actually got to go behind the scenes and watch some of that. It was very impressive. And so you don't sound impressed.
Well, no. I mean, I think I know what he's doing.
Yeah.
It depends on how old the system is and how it's configured. Some of the newer systems actually have a jack on the logic board, and they can plug stuff in and do diagnostics right there.
Right.
But the reality is, you know, some people don't have access to Mac stores, and some other people, you know, they want to fix it themselves.
Okay. Well, so and there's definitely a need for that, and you detected that need, and you formed the Software and Computer Systems company, and you make a number of products, and that's what we're here to talk about tonight. And so why don't we start off with scanners? SCANNERZ.
Okay.
What do scanners do?
Well, scanners, a lot of people think it's a hard drive testing tool because the majority of the problems it finds are with hard drives. What it really is what's called fault detection software. And what fault detection software does is it looks for two types. During a drive scan, the way it normally operates is we do a scan on the hard drive, and while the hard drive is being tested, it's also looking for timing deviations. And if it finds any timing deviations, it marks them. You then use scanners to put it into diagnostics mode, and it can pretty much tell you whether it's going to end up being the logic board, an I/O cable, or a hard drive.
Now, how is it?
A lot of people get.
So I mean,
go ahead.
How is this different from DiskFix? You know, the utility that Apple provides, which is their disk drive scanner, the disk utility. How is this different?
Oh, it's totally different. Disk utility doesn't check hardware. What it really does, every hard drive at its very beginning has what's called an index. It's sort of like if you could think of a library. You know, if you want to find a book, you don't start at one row of books and then scan every single row of books to find what you're looking for. You go to the index. The index tells you where the book is located.
Right.
A hard drive has, a hard drive or SSD, doesn't matter. They all have the same thing. Basically, you have an index, and the index tells the system where the file's located on the drive, and then it gets it. if disk utility sees if there's a file inconsistency, for example, say part of a file is missing, when you go into repair mode, what it's really doing is it's going out and it's sort of like a misplaced book in a library. You know, suppose you have volumes 1, 2, 3, and 5 from an encyclopedia set, and somehow or other the two missing ones got put someplace else. When you use repair mode for disk utility, that's what it's doing. It's basically checking the index. It doesn't do any hardware testing at all.
Okay. Because I've used disk utility a number of times, and that it fixes all there's something called permissions, and then after you do that, and it'll do a scan, and it'll tell you, okay, there's a problem. You want me to repair it, and you hit repair, and 9 times out of 10, or actually I would say 49 times out of 50 times, it'll say, oh, I found the fix, and it turns green, and okay, everything's all right with your hard drive again. But it's
it's doing an index repair.
Okay. So why don't they call it index repair and disk utility?
Not a flare.
What?
I don't know. I don't know.
Okay. So it's not really doing any physical. It's just looking at the software and it's trying to see if it can fix whatever. And you're making it.
It's basically making sure the files on the file system are properly cataloged.
Okay. All right. And there are a number of there's catalog. There's a hierarchical. Was it the hierarchical the way the drive is, HFS, the way the drive is formatted, and it'll check some of those things, and we'll try to correct them. But beyond that, that's only, you're saying, really, that's just the first layer, and if that, and really a lot more can go wrong, and if it does.
I mean the stuff that we're looking at is hardware, and that's really the file system and software.
Okay,
disk utility.
Okay.
And
so
what we're looking at is we're looking for potential problems or developing problems with things like logic boards, cables, connectors, RAM, and the hard drives or SSDs.
So if you find a bad sector or something, the scanners go out and spare that out something so you don't use it again. I mean, or are you getting even further down than that level?
That's at the file system level. We're underneath that.
Okay.
That's basically our recommendation. If somebody finds a bad sector, is for them to basically completely wipe the drive and use. You can use disk utility to zero it, and that will remap the bad sectors for you. It's the same thing it's basically the same thing as some of the if you've seen some of the drive diagnostics software that come typically with drives and almost always only supported by Windows. They typically they can probably do the zeroing for you, but you can do that with disk utility.
I think Allsoft,
and that will remap the bad sectors.
Yeah, I think it's one by Allsoft or Drive Savers. There's a couple of utility products out there that supposedly go to the next level. But if you all of a sudden start hearing like ticking sound, that type of thing on a hard drive, I understand that's usually a very bad sign that something is about to go wrong with your hard drive.
It's often a bad sign.
Yeah, and literally a ticking time bomb. And my understanding is that at that point, try to back everything up as you can, and then basically and just reformatting that drive isn't probably going to help. It's probably getting ready to die.
No. I mean, if you were running scanners on that, it would probably just be indicating one error after another.
Okay.
It probably wouldn't even get through any kind of scan on something like that.
Okay, so somewhere between total drive failure and drive working, where will scanners help people? I mean, what do scanners do to help?
Okay. Well, going back to the old iBook example, in some cases, in one case, for example, we had a drive, and this thing we'd start running Safari, and all of a sudden we hear this sort of like a chug-a-chug sound.
Oh.
And eventually it would clear. You'd see a spinning beach ball come up, and then everything would load. I thought, well, something's wrong with this system. What's wrong with this system? Well, what was wrong with this? There was no I/O error in the log files either, so there was no indication whatsoever. We used some of the other drive tools on it. They gave it a clean bill of health. What it had on it was what we call a weak sector. A weak sector is a sector which has been damaged. And the way that a hard drive can recover that is by most of them use one form or another of averaging, often signal averaging. And if you read it enough times, it can recover the data. Trouble is, it can take, in some cases, like anywhere from 1 to maybe 5, maybe even 10 seconds.
Okay.
So that won't show up on other tools. That will show up on scanners. Scanners will identify that as a confirmed weak sector.
Okay.
Okay. Now, a bad sector would be a sector where the drive comes up to it and it just flat out, it either times out or it just can't read it. At that point, an I/O error is generated. Now, scanners will pick that up as well. Other drive tools will pick that up. In fact, that's what most other drive tools look for. They just look for the I/O error.
Got it.
Now, in addition to that, on another system, we kept getting erratic lockups. And it couldn't be correlated to a drive. For example, we'd boot off an external drive and unmount the internal drive, and we'd still have the problem. Now, what's happening in this particular case is what we call an intermittent generic fault, which is basically, it can be either a cracked trace in the logic board, failing solder joint, or in some cases, very rarely, but in some cases, you might have a heat-sensitive component. And what starts happening is, in the case of cracks and stuff, it's sort of like you have a bad cable, and it has to keep trying and retrying and retrying. And what happens is, an operation that maybe should have taken, microseconds is taking milliseconds to maybe even seconds in some cases.
Wow.
And that's another thing that scanners can pick up. And that was not that unusual back in the days of the plastic cases, because you might have some parent might give their kid an iBook, and the kid sticks the iBook in his book pack and then slams it around, and the cases flex, the boards start developing cracks, and all of a sudden you have these really erratic problems like that. And we still see them even on some of the aluminum models as well.
Yeah. Now the worst.
That's the kind of stuff. Okay.
Okay. I mean, intermittent problems are probably one of the most difficult things. They're the stuff of nightmares.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yes, and that's what scanners was primarily. That's why it's called fault detection software. It's supposed to catch that.
Yeah. Okay. So scanners will catch that, which is terrific. And of course, once it finds it, then what happens? Then then you need to go and physically repair it. It all depends what the problem is, I would assume, right?
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, it's either going to break it down to the media, meaning the hard drive or SSD. In a lot of cases, particularly on some of the MacBook Pros from 2009, 2010, we've seen a lot of the SATA cables get a little bit flaky. Scanners can pick that up during an interface test. Interface test was basically designed to check for that. It can help isolate cable problems in SATA cables, internal cables, even external cables. And then we have what we call memory system bus testing. Memory system bus testing has a little thing on it called system fault. If anybody's ever looked at the pictures of it, you start getting system faults. What you do is you need to boot off an external drive. We call it a Phoenix boot drive, which is Phoenix is another package included in it. And it's basically an emergency boot drive. If you get system faults off everything, you got a logic board problem.
Got it.
Now, some people think, well, that's the end of the world. Not necessarily. In some cases, we've seen stuff plugged into the logic board that would, it's just not seated right, or it's been there long enough that the connectors have oxidized and they're making like intermittent connections.
Got it.
One of the more famous ones that used to always get this were I don't know if you remember the 12-inch power books with their little slide-in network Wi-Fi card underneath the battery. vibrate, and it would just pop out just a little bit, and you'd start getting like these lockups, these periodic lockups, and that kind of stuff. So if you start getting system faults, it isn't the end of the world. Our first advice to customers is open the unit up and reseat everything.
Okay, which makes a lot of sense. Now, the scanners also, we're talking about mechanical hard drives, but scanners, I understand, also works with solid state drives.
Yeah. Solid state drives, you shouldn't run into a weak sector on a solid state drive. I mean, it's mechanical hard drive is basically, believe it or not, an analog platter that gets converted to data. The signal itself is analog storing digital data, and it gets converted to digital, whereas with a solid state, it's total digital, and it's going to, if you either have a bad block or you don't. It generally, with a solid state drive, it's supposed to be auto correcting, but we have seen cases where periodically, much in the same way, an odd block may just go bad on a hard drive. It periodically can happen on an SSD. It becomes a problem if the block already contains data, valid data, because in that case, the SSD isn't going to try and do anything with it. It's not going to try and correct it. The only time it could detect the error is during a read, and most of them don't, they won't correct anything unless there's actually a write going on. So it can pick stuff up there, but it's not as prevalent with SSDs as it would be with a hard drive.
Okay. All right. So now, is scanners for the average Mac user, or is this something that really, as you say, someone who wants to just use this as a technician who needs a better diagnostic tool?
Well, I'll tell you, I don't think it's that hard to use, but then again, I wrote it. The majority of the people using it we have a lot of people that work in Mac repair shops that are using it. I found out after the fact that numerous members of the Apple Consulting Network are using it. I found that out by accident because this one guy kept buying all these copies of it, and I thought, the updates are free, so I figured, well, what's going to happen is he's going to find out the updates are free, and he's going to want $500 back from me for 10 copies, and it turns out no, he's buying these, installing on his customers' machines.
All right,
so,
well, that's good.
Yeah, I mean, those are the guys that I would say are most commonly buy it, but that's not stopping. I would say a lot of system admins that have really big data drives, like 10 plus terabytes, I'd say. Facilities like that where they can't really afford to be like second guessing stuff. They seem to go for it.
Right. Well, solid state drives have been in the news that we've been just talking about. Samsung just came out with a 16 terabyte solid state drive. 16 terabyte solid state drive is amazing. Intel just introduced a new type of memory, flash memory that's 1,000 times faster than flash memory, and they're introducing it in 2016, and much higher density. So there's a lot of work being done on solid state drives that are going to be reaching consumers, if not already. So, and as a person who works with solid state drives from the level that you do, I mean, how reliable are these drives with respect to hard drives, SSDs?
Well, it's kind of hard to tell because I would say the average lifespan of a hard drive can vary depending on its use and how often it gets used and how it's used, from anywhere from 5 to 10 years. Mm-hmm. And, SSDs really only started coming on the market recently. Now, we've seen some people have failures with them that have really turned out to be things where they have to like the bad blocks I was just describing. We had one guy who got scanners, and he ran it. He'd come up with one bad block on an SSD, and then the SSD would eventually correct it. Then it would be 2 more, and then it would be 4 more. And finally, what happened? I guess one of the chips was bad, and so he ended up replacing that. the difference, I would say, between a hard drive and an SSD that's kind of problematic to me is that typically the vast majority of hard drives give you kind of a warning, either an audible warning or performance warning. With SSDs, you know, if they're going to fail too often, you know, it's just like, you know, snap your fingers and it's gone. No warning whatsoever.
Like a light
overall,
bulb.
they seem to be reliable.
Like a light bulb. It burns bright and then poof, you know, that's that. Yeah.
Exactly.
No warning whatsoever. Of course, as incandescents go away and we're getting CFLs and LED lights, the technology continues to improve. But do you believe, and I think it is, I mean, especially with prices dropping and capacities increasing, and that solid state drives will eventually replace hard drives?
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, if you really look at what Apple themselves offer, you know, they don't have hard drives in too many units. I think they still have one in the Mac Mini and maybe an iMac, but I think in both cases, you know, flash memory is an option, you know.
Total flash memory rather than a built-in hard drive.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Apple is the first to phase these things out. I mean, they got rid of the floppy drive to everybody's outrage, and then they got rid. Now they got rid of the optical drive. You know, that's why they have those nice thin edges now. And I mean, they continue to be cutting edge. Hey, listen, we're at the bottom of the hour, Bill, and I'm going to take a little break, and then I want to come back and talk about Spot Off and a couple of the other products that you have. So if you'd stand by, and we'll get back to you, okay?
Sure.
All right. All right, this is the Computer America Show. Ben and I are talking to Software and Computer Systems, Bill Wagner. We'll continue on with them right after these words with our social media winner of the week coming up. Hi, this is Craig Crossman, host of the Computer America Show. You have important meetings to schedule. Your company's getting ready for its IPO, and you're in charge of the PTA fundraiser this month. So how do you coordinate everyone to be available at the same time? Are you still using emails, phone calls, even text messages to schedule meetings with a group of people? How's that working out for you? Not so great, huh? It's a fact that every day, millions of people suffer from scheduling headaches. Well, with Doodle, scheduling meetings with a group of people is quick and easy. With Doodle, you can easily propose available times to each member. Each one checks off the times that they are available, and then you simply pick the time that works best for the group, all in an easy-to-read display that integrates with your existing calendar. Nothing could be more simple. Give Doodle a try for free, and like millions of Doodle users, you'll truly see how easy it is to find the perfect date and time for all your meetings. That's www.doodle.com. Looking for a best friend? Brother Wolf Animal Rescue has your best friend waiting just for you. The mission of Brother Wolf Animal Rescue is to help build a sustainable, no-kill community where no dogs or cats are ever killed for population control, where true euthanasia is reserved only for animals who are irremediably suffering or for animals who are truly a threat to society and with no hope of rehabilitation. Brother Wolf staff and volunteers go door to door, neighborhood by neighborhood, to educate citizens about local resources available for at-risk pets and to help their families connect with those resources. Brother Wolf's community-based approach to no-kill helps keep family pets healthy, happy, and in their homes and out of the local shelter system in the first place. For more information or to make a tax-deductible donation to this wonderful 501c3 organization, visit their website at www.bwar.org. Help to realize Brother Wolf's vision when no animal is euthanized for lack of a home.
Who's a good boy?
You know it's the best part of the show, right? It's Marty Winston with a News Tips Bulletin Review for Computer America. This time, the Waterloo Gas Monkey Garage Tool Chest and Cabinet. Gas Monkey Garage is just one of the licensed brands under which Waterloo Industries manufactures those rolling metal stack of drawer carts that seem to scream mechanic, no matter how skilled the owner of the thing or the tools inside may be. These tool trolleys come in 3 levels of construction. thin metal versions as low price leaders for casual weekend mechanics, super brawny versions for the pros, and a level in between like the one we got for more than casual but less than professional users. The muscle combo we got for review includes a 26-inch wide chest. Its drawers are on ball-bearing slides that can handle 75 pounds each. Plus, it has gas struts on the top lid. It all rides atop a rolling 26-inch wide cabinet. The whole thing on 5-inch by 2-inch wheels. It has an overall load rating of 1,000 pounds, half a ton.
Wow.
Ours arrived at a great time, just before we moved, but we should have gone this way years ago. Bottom line, the Gas Monkey Garage 26-inch rolling dual cabinet and chest muscle combo from Waterloo Industries is a formidable chaos antidote on wheels for all the tools most of us are ever likely to have or need. It's Marty Winston with the News Tips Bulletin Review for Computer America.
Welcome back to the Computer America Show. Now heard, as we said before, on SoundCloud and Stitcher, both new editions. So check us out there. And as I said before, welcome back. We have Mr. Bill Wagner here. He's the president of Software and Computer Systems Company. We're displaying their now we're displaying their website, and all these great tools that you can use to help fix up your Mac. But before we get back to Bill,
button there. I knew there was a button there somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere in there. And I know I have a keyboard of like, I can't even count that high, like 12 buttons. Anyways, we have a show. Well, we have a winner of our Logitech contest through all of our social media outlets. So if you have signed up for Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram, blah, 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 Craig has pulled from one of those, not sure which, he doesn't really tell even his staff. If you signed up to one of those, you were entered in a chance to win an Anywhere 2 mouse, MX2?
Yes, the MX2, Logitech MX2 Anywhere mouse from Logitech, valued at $80.
That's the one.
All right. And we're going to give away this MX Anywhere 2 wireless mouse right now to James Booth. Hey, James, congratulations. James Booth wins the Logitech MX Anywhere 2 wireless mouse with dark field technology. You can it works on glass surfaces, even if you can pair up to 3 computers and switch between them with the touch of a button thanks to its easy switch technology. Because it works with Bluetooth. It's an amazing mouse, about $80, and James wins it. So congratulations to James Booth, this week's social media winner of the week. Okay, so as Ben said, we continue on. We have Bill Wagner here, president of SCSC, or Software and Computer Systems. And Bill, I wanted to just talk a little bit about, you have another product called Spot Off. Can you tell us what Spot Off is?
Yeah, that's one of the things that we found out when we were developing scanners was that sometimes these little pesky processes could kick in that could bottleneck a system and make it act like it's running slow as molasses. Name of the process is MDS, stands for Metadata Server, and it's associated with Spotlight indexing and time machine indexing.
Mm-hmm.
A long time ago, it used to be a really, really big problem because back in the days of Tiger and Leopard, you really didn't have that much memory. You know, if you had a system with 512 megabytes of memory, you know, you had a reasonably powerful system.
Mm-hmm.
And when this thing is doing its indexing, what it does is it would continually keep doing reads and writes to the file system. During some of that Java development I was talking to you about, you know, I mean, we're doing some benchmarks, and this thing that would typically take a minute to complete could end up taking like 3 minutes to complete. And if it was on a laptop, you know, every time, like at the time, I didn't know what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, the fans would come on, the system would get hot, you know, it's sound, you know,
right,
like, the world's coming down. What's going on? And what's happening was it was Spotlight doing its little indexing thing.
Yep.
And basically spot off. They're basically spotometer. The product with the great name is a free download. In my opinion, indexing problems nowadays, they probably only occur for people that have multi-boot systems like me.
Mm-hmm.
For example, on one of my systems, I have a partition for leopard, snow leopard, lion, mountain lion, Yosemite, El Capitan, Mavericks.
Right.
And if you boot like in snow leopard, it goes out and looks at the index and says, "Yeah, this is all a mess. I better restart."
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then say you boot into Yosemite, it says, "Who screwed with the index? I better restart this thing."
And it would start
on the size of the drive.
Yeah. And it would start up
on the size of the drive. It can take a long time to index.
Yeah, exactly.
And,
exactly. That was happening with me, which is actually kind of turned me onto your company. Spotlight kept coming on, and as you know, when Spotlight is indexing, it puts a real load on your system. And so if you're running 2 or 3 other applications at the same time, and Spotlight's doing its indexing, it can slow things down to a crawl, and so. And there's no, there's no mechanism to turn Spotlight off. You can tell it to stop working. There's no on and off switch. You can just say, "Don't Spotlight anything," and that's great. Except then when you're using things like Outlook, which requires Spotlight to do searches for email, you're out of luck. So then you have to turn it on, and then when you turn it on, it says, "Okay." When you turn it back on, it says, "Now I need to re-index everything," and that's going to take me about 3 hours to do. And so it really is a quandary. I found a terminal command that would allow me to turn it off, and turn it back on. It wasn't quite as bad as turning it off through the operating system that I had found, but it was still not good. What I found was this command which was like sudo mdutil -a-i off, and that would turn it off, and then sudo mdutil -a-i on, that would turn it back on. And I'm getting from is sort of okay, which is this
the trouble with that utility is Time Machine can induce indexing as well, and that command has no effect on it.
Yeah, I turn Time Machine off completely, and I run it once, or I tell Time Machine to index once every week now. I used to have it do its thing.
Oh, okay.
And it used to do it, and it was like every 15 minutes or every half, it would do a quick index. And I go, "This is crazy. I mean, I don't need I don't need that many copies of it. Not that much is happening between all these copies. So I usually turn it on like twice every week or something like that now. It's a little bit more reasonable. But you can't do that with Spotlight. Spotlight has a mind of its own, and you have no control over it. The only thing to do is turn it off, and when you turn it off, the moment you turn it back on, it does a complete reindex. It doesn't come back. Okay, well, it's fine. You only had me off for a few minutes or an hour or two. I don't have to It comes back and reindexes the entire computer again, and that can take a long time. And so it's just
yeah, especially if you have like 10 terabytes of data.
Yeah, really, exactly. So Apple doesn't have a fix for that. Even the latest, even with El Capitan, they don't have a real easy fix for that. So you come up with Spot Off 2 and the Spotometer. So this allows you to turn Spotlight off and on without all that heavy reindexing.
Yes, it should. It depends on how long you leave it off for. If there are several. If you've used Spot Off, there are several options. We recommend starting off with the lightweight stuff like unmount the drives, possibly suspend indexing, that kind of stuff.
Well, but
if that doesn't work, then what it does is it actually unloads the MDS server, which totally stops it from working.
Yeah, but
it doesn't care if you have
you can't unmount your primary drive though, and that's where right now I have
no. It unloads the MDS server process. In other words, it stops the process that's causing you problems is called MDS.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And what it does is it basically terminates it and says, don't run again until I tell you it's okay to.
Right.
Okay. And if you restart the MDS, if it's not been a long time, it'll typically do just a little bit of updating indexing because believe it or not, it doesn't know it was off.
Okay. All right.
And it'll just look at the current file system and see what's changed and do some local.
That would be nice.
Re-updating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the way to do it. I mean, that's the way Apple should do it. You turn it off, you turn it on. It doesn't re-index the whole thing. It's like throwing the baby out with the bathwater. You say, no, you've only been off for maybe a day. Okay, go find all the things that changed within the daytime. With the 1 day's period of time, re-index it, and then life is good again. Not force me to sit there for 72 hours or whatever the heck it is to index my 4 terabyte hard drive.
Yeah, well, believe it or not, I think that at one point we actually considered dumping the product. I think it was either during Lion or Snow Leopard because it looked at one point like they actually had that fixed. And we were thinking about, well, nobody's going to ever need this anymore.
No.
And then Mountain Lion came along, and all of a sudden let's re-index everything again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no. So don't take it away. People need it.
Okay.
And just leave it there, and just make sure that you keep updating it. As you mentioned, since Mountain Lion, we have Yosemite and Mavericks and El Capitan, which is coming around. So I don't know what they're doing with El Capitan or whatever, but the point is, if they haven't fixed it, you still need Spot Off. Difference between Spot Off and Spot Off 2, difference between the two?
A version number. no. Spot Off 1 was really pretty simple. It went with Spot Off 2, you have the option to unload the drive. You can try a conservative way, which is basically like unmount the backup drives if you've got them connected, and it gives you more options. The other Spot Off was really pretty basic.
Yeah, I don't care. See, in my case, I don't care about my extra drives. I care about the main drive that's inside the Mac. I got a 2 terabyte hard drive in there. I tell Spotlight not to index that, and I can do that through the system's control panel. I just say, ignore those drives, and it does. So I just index a 2 terabyte hard drive that's in my Mac. But again, it does it. It's incessant about it. If you turn it off and then you turn it back on, it's going to do the whole drive again. And that's why I was hoping that Spot Off 2 I wouldn't have to go through that. I could turn it off with Spot Off 2. A day or two goes by, I turn it back on, and it's just going to take a few minutes. It'll just and it's done. And that's the scenario.
That is what should happen.
Okay. Well,
that is what should happen.
Now, should. Yeah, I like that "should" word. It should work.
Well, it depends. It depends on if you have your drive and all of a sudden you add like 500 megabytes of data to it, it's going to index it.
Well, that's true. Well, no, obviously I wanted to do what it needs to do because I want to find the stuff. But if I've only done minimal stuff, and I expect it to come back and say, okay, about 3 minutes and it's indexed, not 72 hours or some crazy thing, that it comes up with. And Spot Off 2 will do that. And then with the Spotometer, that just shows me, it gives me a visual representation. What does the Spotometer do?
The Spotometer monitors MDS activity. Okay. It looks for how intense MDS itself will spawn typically a bunch of threads named MD Worker.
Yeah.
Or they might have like MD Worker 32 or some other name. There's several of them.
Uh-huh.
It looks for the activity of those things. It adds up the CPU consumption, and then it's got like this little graph that moves up and down with it.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Okay. And by the way,
if you're a guy that
I'm sorry.
If you're a guy that never really, if you have a system like an iMac that you never really make any radical changes to, a lot of times, you'll never run into MDS problems.
Well, yeah, but I was, because I would turn it off and then or things would slow down enormously, and I couldn't figure out why. And then I run Activity Monitor, and there's MDS and MDS Worker and doing all this stuff, and I'm going, and it was just slowing my system down to a crawl. And I so finally I turned it off and then re-indexed everything. I figured there may be a problem with that, but it still does it from time to time. So I needed a mechanism like Spot Off 2 that's going to let me turn it off and turn it on when I need it, and not worry about a huge re-indexing every time I turn it back on. And that's what Spot Off 2 lets me do.
Yeah.
Okay. And again, Activity Monitor, another really useful tool that I use on the Mac, and that shows me all of the different processes that are going on. That's where I actually was introduced to MDS and MDS Worker and all those evil little programs, things that were doing to slow my computer down. And you have something called which replaces Performance Probe 2. You call it an abbreviated form of Apple's Activity Monitor. So what's the purpose of that?
Yeah. That is, back in the days of Snow Leopard, they had this really cool looking activity monitor with little pie charts and stuff. And, you could, if you had like an abusive website or something, and you load it up, you could sit there and you could look at the memory pie chart and it would shoot way up because all of a sudden the website caused you to hog memory. That was gone. They've got these graphs with memory pressure, and you have to cross-reference, tables of processes. The processes are jumping around all over the place. It makes it kind of difficult to look at the thing. Performance Probe 2, what we did is we brought back the pie chart, and it sits in the corner. It's probably, I guess, roughly 3 by 4 inches on, I don't know, maybe 19, 20-inch monitor. And there's an advanced monitoring button in the lower right-hand corner of it. And you can bring up what we call a heads-up display window, which is a sort of a translucent display, and it will show you immediately your top CPU usage, your top memory usage, and do a drive and network I/O map. But more importantly, it does something that Activity Monitor doesn't do, and that's called load monitoring or load averaging. And that's useful because what it does is it measures the CPU consumption over time and averages it. For example, talking about MDS, some of these MD Worker threads will come in. They'll run at very high CPU utilization, like 100% for 10 seconds, and then they'll disappear.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, MDS sits there at the top, using up another, like 50 or 60% consistently. And what the load monitoring does is it basically stabilizes the display. As the sampling is allowed to continue, the most offensive processes, run to the top, and it becomes pretty clear. This is, believe it or not, the most heavily tested application we have, because I run it on my systems all the time.
Yeah.
And, for example, if you run into an abusive website, the memory pie chart, turns almost totally red.
Yeah.
And a lot of people say, well, that's Safari. Safari is terribly written. And the answer is no. Some of these guys are putting websites out there that, you go to them and they start downloading just tons of ads and video content and all this other stuff. And the poor little thing, Safari can't handle it. So, so you watch this memory pie chart turn almost totally red, and then you terminate Safari, and all of a sudden it goes, mostly green.
Yeah. Well, but that's why you have products like Adware Medic, as a product that because you go to Safari and you load, and it just dumps all this adware on your computer. You can run like things like Adware Medic to get rid of all that stuff. And
no, I'm talking about network ads where like an advertiser is feeding into say the Kardashian website.
Okay.
I don't know if I should have said that.
It's okay.
Some celebrity type website.
Yeah.
Where they have tons of video content feeds where see lots of little commercials sometimes with video content.
Okay. Yeah.
And they're all connecting to this, and you're waiting for that connection, and then they're running like a video thread underneath Safari. That's good. That's Adware is not going to take care of that.
Oh, no, it won't. No, it won't.
That's actually that's a website.
But it's
problem,
but
as
it's
far as I'm concerned.
right. And as soon as you close that window, all that goes away, right? See, with Adware Medic, that checks for ad spyware and adware, like from eBay that putting all and companies like that put that stuff on your
Yeah,
just
yeah,
stays there.
that's checking for stuff that gets installed on your system.
Yeah, exactly. But so if you're doing too much Kardashians, just close the window.
That's right.
Exactly. That would probably be a little bit better. Well, listen, Bill, this has been very interesting, and as I thought it would be, and I want to thank you for telling us about it. Again, go to our website at computeramerica.com. We have a link to the software and computer systems website. It's scsc-online.com. But again, we have all there, and you can look at it. And if you have a Mac and you have Spotlight, or your computer seems to be bogged down, you can get these programs. And typically, not. And what do they cost? What is a Spot Off 2? Spot Off, I understand, is free, right? Spot Off 2, there's a small charge for it.
Spot Off, oh geez, I don't know my own prices. Scanners. We have two versions of FSC. We didn't even get into FSC, but there's the scanners with FSC Lite, which is that's going to be $39.95.
Mm-hmm.
Scanners with FSC, which is the fully configurable version, is $49.95.
Mm-hmm.
We have a lightweight version of scanners, which doesn't have any of the extra utilities. It's really kind of like a sort of a fire and forget system testing program for $21.95.
Mm-hmm.
Phoenix is $13.95. Spot Off with Spotometer is $10.95.
Okay.
And Performance Probe is $14.95.
$14.95. That's the alternative to Apple's Activity Monitor. Well, and again, you can see all the pricing at the SCSC website. And again, Bill, thanks for taking the time to be here with us. Very interesting.
Okay, I really appreciate it. I've enjoyed myself.
And best of luck to you on your endeavors. Continue good success. All right. Well, thank you for being with us here tonight. Take care. Have a good evening.
Okay, thanks a lot. Bye now.
Good night. Bye-bye. All right. So there he goes. Okay. So Bill Wagner, again, with SCSC. And you can check it out for yourself if you have a Mac, or you want to do some of the diagnostics work, or you want to get your hands dirty, you want to get under the hood, if you will, all that is.
Whoa, wait. You're saying this is Mac only?
Yes, this is all Mac stuff. Mac.
I'm just showing people where I was the entire conversation. Craig heavily dominated that one, but as was to be expected for a Mac product. But it's a very honestly, this might be the first time that we've actually talked about Mac, not performance tools, but just software to to fix Macs. This is the first time, because Slimmer Utilities does some of this for Windows, and we've talked to other Windows programs that do things similar to this for Windows machines. Again, this is a first for Macs.
Yeah, and you heard it right here.
Yeah, it just doesn't come up that much.
Yeah. Well, as I said, I mean, Macs need from time to time, they need some tender loving care, and if the utilities that come with Mac aren't doing it for you, you might want to check out these other products from SCSC. There are a number of really good utilities out there, but I thought it'd be interesting to bring one on and talk a little bit about them. So I think that about wraps it up. Again, I want to thank both of our guests. Uniden in the first hour, we had Mark Lesser on talking about their digital wireless DVR. Very interesting. And again, Bill Wagner, from the president of Software and Computer Systems, on the show. So basically,
if we have like 2 minutes, one of our listeners puts this to Facebook, and I guess want us to give it a shout out and talk about it a little bit. It's going to have to be really quick, but they pointed me to this Indiegogo campaign for the Dragonfly Future Phone.
Really?
Yeah. Again, it's an Indiegogo campaign, already been funded. It's almost at $700,000, and you can pre-order this computer. But the interesting thing about this computer is that it has 2 screens built into it, so 2 separate screens built into one operating system on a laptop that runs both Windows and Android, the Android operating system. So it's bringing these 2 computers, it's bringing these two systems together that otherwise you would have to have a smartphone and a computer standalone to do anything with. But this could turn into an easy to go kind of netbook style kind of thing with the Android operating system, or it could turn into a fully functioning Windows machine.
Well, it's called the Dragonfly Future Phone, which is it's spelled FON.
Oh yeah, phone. Yeah, that's right.
Exactly. Okay. All right. Well, thanks for pointing that out, Ben. Now, we didn't really get to do too much other computer and technology news, but we just didn't have time to finish. We've got a lot more stories coming up, and but again, we got the weekend is upon us. So on Monday, we're going to have a company called Sandbox Interactive, which is
I love Sandbox.
yeah. Well, they have a product called Captivator, and they have Jumpstart Academy Africa. They're going to be talking about this in the first hour. We got the president of the company, Larry Cherry, is going to be on the show talking about that. And then in the
90 seconds.
second hour, we're going to have a company called Promptly. Basically, it's an app which allows you to
do app things on an app interface.
Okay.
It's very appropriate to the app's purpose.
Yes, exactly. And you'll find out more about it on Monday. In the meantime, again, congratulations to our social media winner of the week.
Seconds.
James Booth wins the Logitech MX Anywhere 2 wireless mouse, valued at $80. Get your entry in now. I mean, entries. You only do it once, and that's it. And the more social media sites you visit that we populate, that you get that many more entries every single week. That's how it works. Okay. And check out our website at computeramerica.com. And again, remember that we're now on Spotify and SoundCloud, and just more ways of reaching us.
Stitcher.
Yeah, Stitcher. That's it.
Really want to emphasize Stitcher. I think that's going to be a good one for us.
So that about wraps it up. Have a great weekend. And so until tomorrow, on Monday night, this is Craig Crossman, hoping that your hard disk never becomes floppy. Have a great weekend. We'll see you Monday night.
Good night, everyone.
10 seconds. Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.
Okay, everybody. Thanks for watching our live video stream here on Google's Hangout. And again, have a great weekend. Catch a movie. Do something fun. And Ben and I will see you on Monday night. So take care, everybody. We'll see you Monday. Bye-bye.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.